Hi, welcome to Faith and Bible ASMR. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to be going through Psalms 3 and 4 and the Bible study for them. So I hope it will be an encouragement to your heart. It just has so much to do with what we're going through as a nation right now, because these Psalms were written by David at a time that his son Absalom was hunting him, because Absalom wanted to become king and kill his own father. So David was in fear for his life when he wrote these. If you would like me to put the Bible studies with the chapters, please let me know in the comments. I did that today since the chapters are so incredibly short. But if you would like me to do that on a continual basis, please let me know. Otherwise, I will just continue the way I was before. So let's dive into these chapters. Chapter 3 says, "O Lord, I have so many enemies. So many are against me. So many are saying God will never rescue him. But you, O Lord, are a shield around me. You are my glory, the one who holds my head high. I cried out to the Lord, and he answered me from his holy mountain. I lay down and slept, yet I woke up in safety, for the Lord was watching over me. I am not afraid of 10,000 enemies who surrounded me on every side. Arise, O Lord, rescue me, my God. Slap all my enemies in the face. Shatter the teeth of the wicked. Victory comes from you, O Lord. May you bless your people." And then in chapter 4 it says, "Answer me when I call to you, O God, who declares me innocent. Free me from my troubles. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. How long will you people ruin my reputation? How long will you make groundless accusations? How long will you continue your lies? You can be sure of this. The Lord set apart the godly for himself. The Lord will answer when I call to him. Don't sin by letting anger control you. Think about it overnight and remain silent. Offer sacrifices in the right spirit and trust the Lord." Many people say, "Who will show us better times?" Let your face smile on us, Lord. You have given me greater joy than those who have abundant harvests of grain and new wine. In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, will keep me safe. And then the Bible study is written by Kayla Ferris. And the key verse that she gives is Psalm 4, verse 8, which says, "In peace I will both lie down and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety." We have a sinkhole on our farm. It started out small, but with every rain it grows. One day we decided to fill it in. It took 3 tractor loads of dirt. The next heavy rain we had, the hole was back, only wider and deeper than before. Have you ever had a situation in life that felt like a sinkhole? Like the hole was bottomless, like the ground you once stood on is collapsing beneath you, and maybe you start the slide into despair. Psalms chapter 3 and 4 give us a glimpse into David's heart at a moment when he faced a sinkhole of a problem. We read from the title of Psalm 3 that this is a psalm of David when he fled from Absalom, his son. People were out to get David. They wanted to mar his reputation and kill him for his crown. But perhaps the biggest blow was that his son, Absalom, was leading the charge. Absalom spread lies about his father and stole the hearts of the men of Israel, it says in 2 Samuel 15, verse 6. David was forced to flee from Jerusalem and the palace, his home. Along the way, he faced jeers and cursing, and we find that in 2 Samuel 16:13. His situation felt so bleak that David began to question whether God was even for him. And we see that in 2 Samuel 15:25-26. Look at the anguish that David expresses in the chapters that we just read. He felt surrounded by his enemies in chapter 3, verse 1. He was humiliated and hounded by lies in chapter 3, verse 2 and 4, verse 2. He felt anger in Psalm 4:4 and despair in Psalm 4:6. His situation was bad. It was really bad. And yet, in the midst of this hard situation, David turned around and reminded himself of who God is. He voices the fact that God is a shield about him, his glory, and the lifter of his head. And he says all that in chapter 3, verse 3. He calls God his righteousness and his relief from distress in chapter 4, verse 1. He calls God his security in chapter 4, verse 8. He also affirms to himself that God hears him in chapter 4, verse 3, that he answers him in chapter 3, verse 4. He sustains him, and he says that in chapter 3, verse 5. He sets him apart, and he says that in Psalm 4, verse 3. He gives him more joy, and that can be found in chapter 4, verse 7. And he saves David from his enemies. And David says that in chapter 3, verse 7. An amazing thing happened when David spoke the truth over his situation. His hard situation lost its grip on his soul. His slide into despair stopped. He had peace. It was a peace so real that even though his life was in constant danger, David said he could lie down and sleep. And we see that in chapter 4, verse 8. No worry or anxiety, no fear for what might be ahead. Paul refers to this as the peace of God which passes all understanding. And you can find that in Philippians 4:7. There is a peace that doesn't make sense to the world because it's not independent of our circumstances. In fact, it guards our hearts and minds against despair in spite of our circumstances. It is dependent on only one thing: the unchanging, unfailing character of God. So the next time our situations look bad, let's turn around and tell our heart situation that we have a God who saves us. Let's remind ourselves of God's good character and his love for us. And let's sleep with a peace that overcomes the sinkhole of despair. Bye.